Hello everyone and welcome to this video on this course of getting started with Angular. In this video, we will try to cover directives, how to create our own directives. We have already gone over structural directives in the previous videos, but those structural directives are something which come with Angular by default, such as ng4 and ngif, just to name a few. In this video, I'll show you guys how you guys can go about and create your own directive. And what are obviously directives used for? Well, directives are used to add certain behaviors to the elements in which they're being used. ngf is a common example. If we have ngf, we can remove that element from the DOM or we can add it. ng4 is obviously used to loop over that element and create multiple instances of it. So we are obviously like playing around with that element. These are some of the things which basically, in short, directives can help us to manipulate or change the behavior of an element. Now, to create a directive, our own custom directive, what I'll do is let me just create, because I was just practicing this. I'm inside of the terminal and I'll do cd source, cd app like this. And inside of this, I will create a folder, directives, and I will cd into directives like this. And now there are two ways of creating directives. You guys can go about create it manually, very similar to how we create components manually, or you guys can use the command given by Angular CLI, which is ng g or generate d directive, but we can just do g and d. The initials are more than enough, and let's just call it highlight. And if I go inside of my directives folder, I can see the highlight.directive.ts created. And if I go inside my app.module.ts, I can see that it has been imported as well. Now that we have created the directive, if I give it a look, it's not that different when it compared with component. The only difference is that we have a directive decorator and we have a selector which is inside of these square brackets. And the way we use a directive is that now that it has been created and it has been declared as well, I will go inside of my customers, the multiple customers.component.html. And inside of this, I can see my welcome h1 tag, which I've created. And I will place my directive like this. Now that I've placed the directive inside of my h1 tag, let me just go back into my highlight.directive.ts. I can access that h1 tag inside of my highlight.directive.ts. I can actually access the instance. And the way I do it is, let me just create private el element ref. Element ref is used to like access that instance in which the directive has been used. And the way I can go about doing this is I will have to implement on init and do ng on init, and let me just do alert just to show you guys that it's working. This dot el dot native element dot inner html like this. As you can see, I can see welcome, which is the text inside of my h1 tag, welcome over here. So looks like it's working. Yep. Now with that out of the way, I can access the element inside of my directive. Is there a way to change the property of that element? Properties can be multiple. Can we change the background color of that element? Let's see if we can. I mean, I do have access to that element, so I can do this dot el dot native element dot style dot background color. Let me set it to green. Save it. Go back over here, and as you can see, the background color of this h1 tag has been set to green. Obviously, this is not the ideal or one of the best ways of changing the color. I would never recommend this. If we are going to explicitly change the element of a color, we can use something which is called a renderer, and it will be renderer v2 render2 like this. blended. And let me just do this dot renderer dot set style. And the first thing it's asking for me, asking from me is the element, this dot el. Uh, and the next thing is the style, which will be background slash color. And the last thing it's asking for is the value. Let's just do red. Let me just remove this. I don't need this anymore. I'll save the project, go back. Okay, and I am getting an error. Background color is should be possibly C. No, undefined. Is not sure if it's supposed to be native element. Yes, sorry, I apologize. It was supposed to be native element. We are going to access the native element itself. But yeah, this is one of the right ways of changing the style of an element explicitly. Now, with that out of the way, and I'll comment this out maybe for later on. I would like to show you guys an example of why I personally use directives a lot, and that is for adding, highlight features. If I highlight, if I like hover over an element, I should see a pop-up come up. I should see the color of that element change. I should possibly see some information show up. All of that can be done using a directive. And there are certain event listeners that can be implemented. Like, let's say if I hover over an element, how do I notify my directive that has been done, that action has taken place? If someone clicks on a button, like they click on G, F, some keystroke, how does my directive get notified? And the way it's done is it's done using an event listener called host listener. So if I do host listener like this, and let me just define the action, which is mouse enter. Basically, mouse is hovering over or it's over the element. And then I can just give an arbitrary name, mouse enter, and it will be an event. Okay. And this should possibly work. Let me just console.log event like this. And let me see if this is working or not. Okay, I'm getting undefined. It should. Okay, I am hovering over my element. For now, I think the event will be undefined because I'm not passing something to. Okay, I'll get to this in a second. But I still have access to my element, right? Using the element ref. This dot el dot native element. And let's see what I get. Okay, as you guys can see, whenever I hover over it, I can see the H1 tag. And using the renderer, obviously, I can change the properties. But instead of using the render, I would like to use something else, which is called a host binder or host binding. What I'll do is host binding. It's asking for the property name, which will be background color, which will be the name of that obviously will be background color as well, which will be type string. Make sense? This dot background color is equal to red. So that should let me see what do I get if I console.log this dot background color like this. So I am getting Obviously, this background color is coming in as red, or because the value of that is changing. But the host binding should be used to access the native element. Let me give this a look. Okay, I apologize. The thing which I missed out over here was this style. That was needed. The input string was just background color. That's not the right syntax. We need to have style dot background color. And if we go back and hover over the application like there, the h1 tag, you can see that the color changes to red. Obviously, that is being done, but I also want to add another host listener, which can be for mouse leaf. And the name of this will be mouse leaf event. And for this, I will just set it to white. Mouse is entering, the background color will be red. The mouse is leaving, the background color will be white. Let's see if this works. Yes, it's working. And there you go. A basic level highlight directive has been created. Obviously, there is a lot of other stuff which we can do. There is a lot of room for us to play around with the directive. And actually, I would like to do one last thing. I would like to input a value to this directive using the input event listeners. The input output event listener event meters were used to exchange data between components, but we can also use them to exchange data between a component and a directive. So what I'll do over here is actually over here, I will create an input variable. This is a text. So this text input variable will receive information from somewhere, and that somewhere is over here. You already defined the text variable, and I will give it a name of welcome Bob. And what I will do is, if I go back to my directive, when someone enters, or the mouse enter event takes place, I will do native element dot inner HTML is equal to text, this dot text. And when someone leaves, should I change it back to what it was? I don't know what will be right. Yeah, I will just do this dot el dot native element dot inner HTML is equal to welcome for now, because I don't know what the original value was. So, or I can even access the original value. Let me see. I will do original value, find a variable string, and I will call it this dot original value is equal to this dot el dot native element dot inner HTML. And over here, when the mouse leaves, just revert it or turn it back to whatever the original value was. Looks good. Welcome Bob, red color. Splendid. We have used an input event listener inside of a directive, and we can obviously use the output event emitter as well to send data back to the component. But yeah, that is something I'll leave it for you guys to work with, experiment around. But yeah, here we go. We have created a highlight directive, which is exchanging data with the component. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give it a like, share with your friends and family, for that helps me out a lot. Until I meet you guys with another video, this is Mohit Lodi signing off.